All right. Well, good morning. And what is up, everybody? This is Keith. Go get a guy 231 across the DFS answer. We got a crazy slate here. First off, sorry for missing last week. Felt like absolute hell. So much better now. And it was good. I missed last week because we did some research and we're like, okay, Duke is gonna probably get killed by Wake, but they're still gonna score like 30 something. That was terrible. Probably one of my worst weeks of college football in weeks. So looking forward to bouncing back. We have a great slate. We have some huge totals. I think this is one of the slates that you look at it and you go, God, there's just a million people you want to play. And I think the one advice I want to get before getting into the players is think less about who you're not getting and more about making sure that the overall construction of your lineup is getting as many of the guys that you do like a lot in there. Meaning, look, you could easily, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to go yet, right? I think I'm going to do one stud quarterback and then one pay down because the pay down is so good. But everything in me wants to get two of these absolute superstar quarterbacks. But you look at the overall build and what it does to you, and you go, I have to take more chances than I would have if I just went ahead and went just like a Sam Howell, who's on the cover. I just love Sam Howell here. And then maybe you drop down to Sean Clifford versus going Sam Howell and trying to jam in Matt Corral, assuming he's okay, or Willis or MORDECAI, or all the outstanding quarterbacks there are. So hope that makes sense. Just a quick reminder before I get into the picks, like, subscribe, comment, all really helps. Let's jump right into it. You know the drill with me here. Find out. I'm not here about staying for 45 minutes and going through everything. This is quick and easy, 10, 15 minutes, give you top level plays. Wish you luck. Get the hell out of here. Finish my coffee. Go watch some of the Manchester United derby. It's a great day of sports. All right. The top, Sam Hartman, totally in play. But I think of the top guys, I'm taking dual threat dudes. You know this by now. Sam Howell, to me, just is off the charts. The crazy thing about Sam Howell this year is just the rushing upside. Like, look at the last three games: 18 for 101, 17 for 98, 11 for 108. Now we have a 77 total. 77. Jeez. I needed a lot of this game. And it's, at home. Carolina's slightly favored. Wake is like, what the hell, dudes? We're number 8 in the country. We haven't lost a game. We're not even going to be favored away to a 4-14. So the disrespect is real. But I think North Carolina's offense is legit as well. Sam Howell is that guy that's going to fire this on. So Sam Howell is a lock and load for me. Sorry, I still have like the slightest twinge of this throat. So I'm going to be stopping a few times for the coffee, especially when I get all excited, as you just saw there. Matt Corral, we need to watch the status. But Liberty versus Ole Miss, this has the ability to shoot out too. And I think that the ranking of the games, all right, in my opinion, is North Carolina Wake is 1. I'm already blinking. My bad. Then, I think that SMU Memphis, as long as I'm make sure I remember Memphis's quarterback's name. I keep forgetting. Hennigan is in. As long as Hennigan is in, that's 2 for me. I probably go Liberty and Ole Miss 3 as long as Corral is in, and then Ohio State and Nebraska 4, which I think Ohio State, Nebraska, despite the total being in that 70 range and a little bit higher than Ole Miss Liberty, I think it's further away at number 4, just because some of the pieces are so hard are harder to fit. And that just means me saying that out loud and on a video just means that you need to stack it up because that will win you tournaments. All right. But that's where I go on the games. And I want to do as much as I can to fill out my lineup with those games and stay away from like Mizzou, Georgia, or Illinois, Minnesota. There's one play I like in there, but Tulsa and Cincinnati, which could blow out. Michigan State versus Purdue, those type of things. I just kind of want to stay away from those games where I just don't need to force it. All right, Matt Corral, you know the drill with Corral, but now if he's in and healthy, he's elite as well. You get the rushing upside, and obviously tons of passing. Malik Willis, you might not be as familiar with. Malik Willis is an absolute baller as well. He's huge too. So he gives you great rushing upside as well, especially on the goal line. Look at versus Louisiana Monroe, 23 for 157 versus UAB, 15 for 144. We know that Ole Miss can't defend and can definitely score. So that is a good look as well. I think Mordecai is, to me, a step down only because of the rushing, right? It's really hard for me to put traditional pocket passers at the same level as these dual threat guys. But, you know, look at the last 4 games, 300, 301, I'm sorry, 324, 427, 305. Does give you a few rushing touchdowns on the ground too this season. So if you want to stack that game up, you know, playing Tanner Mordecai makes a ton of sense. To me, the drop off is real as we go down. If I'm not paying up, I'm all the way down for Sean Clifford at Maryland. Look, Sean Clifford this season hasn't been using his legs nearly as much, but Sean Clifford definitely has the rushing upside. And if we get a game like last week, right, 35 for 52, 361, he also has the ability to throw the ball. So I think 6,000 is just a little too cheap for his talent and just the talent overall of Penn State. Let's go to running back, which, look, if you thought that quarterback was loaded, then running back at the top is loaded as well. Kenneth Walker coming up an insane game versus Michigan. You know, 8,600 is a lot for my builds, but you know, if you can fit it, I have no problem with him. No problem with Jerome Ford. I think if I'm paying up, I'm going to go to one of those games. And Henderson from Ohio State, 28 for 152 last week versus Indiana. If that game doesn't blow out, he probably has 200 yards versus Maryland. That game doesn't blow out, he probably has 200 yards. He's an absolute freak in the best possible sense. Okay. Just unbelievable runner. I think that Ohio State, you know, really is starting to show the identity that they want to have the run to set up the pass. You know, set up those phenomenal wide receivers, right? Set up that Ohio State's skill positions are crazy, right? Stroud, Olive, Garrett Wilson, Henderson. I mean, it's unbelievable embarrassment of riches. Nebraska's going to be a tough place to go. But, you know, I really do think that they'll try to run it through Henderson. I know Storm is super, super high on Henderson. I kind of am taking that advice too, because he was high on Walker last week and I wasn't. Walker only gets 5 touchdowns. So Henderson, obviously a very, very strong play. KYREN Williams is very good as well. The one thing about KYREN Williams is that you get the receiving upside in there too. If you just look at what 16 catches the last 4 games on top of almost 20 carries. Navy's is always kind of confusing to me because Navy, you know, when they're going, when that triple option is running well, they can really bleed out the clock. But, you know, at Notre Dame should take care of business. Stay away from Batty. Abram Smith I like, but I'm probably just going to be a little bit away of it just because of the game. But it's hard to fault 300 yards in the last 2 games versus Texas and BYU. So I have no problem with you, Abram Smith. Like Isaiah Spiller, I really like LEDDIE Brown, especially because LEDDIE Brown's getting involved in the passing game as well. We had 5 catches last week. But in this range, I think I'm on Ty Chandler. I'm going right back to this North Carolina versus Wake game. Ty Chandler is the #1 for North Carolina, getting 15 to 20 carries a game. You know, as I'm saying this and I'm like looking back at his log somewhere, I think I might actually be more on like a LEDDIE Brown just for the work, getting that extra 5 to 6 carries. But it's just so hard because you're freaking 6 touchdowns in the last 4 touchdowns in the last 2 for Ty Chandler. So, you know, if it's going down to the goal line, he's going to get it. So it's just really hard. It's really hard. I know that Storm is on Jaylen Warren. It's hard to say that that's wrong. If you kind of discount the fact that they had a blowout last week versus Kansas, tough game at Iowa State. Sorry, excuse me. But 33 and 36 carries, 27 before then. They want to work him as long as this game script is correct and Oklahoma State is in the game or is up. Jaylen Warren's going to have huge, huge numbers. I think if we do not see Ulysses Bentley, Trace Siggers is a great option. And then that other potential shootout, getting 15 to 20 carries for an SMU offense that could score 40 points here. Let me just roll down here and just give you a couple of the others. Excuse me. As you can see, not fully there. Kai Thomas, I find really interesting. Kai Thomas is part of this Minnesota backfield, which is splitting about 40 carries between the two. Now, Kai Thomas sends you 1,000 off of, and I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Ingram, I believe? Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Irving. Don't know where Ingram came from. Kai Thomas sends you 1,300 off of Irving. has 21 for 106 and 21 for 139 the last 2 games. This should be a game that Minnesota can handle at home versus the Illinois. Getting cold up north too, so like those runners. Finally, for just a pure and utter punt, we go down here, Penn State. I was joking with Storm when we were planning this out that I think I've single-handedly made all the Penn State running backs not playable by taking a stab at each of them. So now you have John Lovett, 3,300, coming off of a whopping 13 carries for 20 yards versus Ohio State. All that being said, this is a much better matchup at Maryland. It's hard to argue at 3,300 for a guy that's going to get 10 touches. Wide receiver, if you have any money left for all those options and can get up to Josh Downs, it's probably a great idea. Josh Downs is by far Sam Howell's favorite wide receiver. Look at these numbers the last 4 games. He got 38 catches, probably, doing quick math, over 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, Josh Downs. And these are games that were not meant to shoot out like this, right? At Notre Dame, Miami, because there's just North Carolina's offense is so good and defense is not. Just promoting shootouts. So it's really hard to poke any holes in Josh Downs if you can pay up. If you can get there. That's the whole thing. If you can get there. Austin, I would just say, make sure his quarterback is in. If so, you can open up these 13 for 200, 8 for 104, 6 for 142. If not, the backup really struggled. Roberson in the same game can shoot out. Dotson, I like a bit. Look, it's repetitive to say at the top end that you like the guys, but I mean, this is college and these are some of the elite plays. So of course they're in play. I'd stay away from Bell. Perry, I would try to find the money for Roberson, but if you don't, my thought is the way construction goes, you probably, even if you do like fade one of the quarterbacks and do kind of mid-tier wide receivers, you're only going to be able to go up one spot at wide receiver. And if I'm going up, I'm just going to find a way to get to Downs and forget the rest. Wilson and Olive, I think if you just wanted to be contrarian and stack that game up or stack the Ohio State offense, that makes a ton of sense. Just pair with CJ Stroud. Tay Martin's interesting. Again, if I'm going up, I'm just going all the way up. If I'm not, I think in this little mid 5K to low 6K tier, Gray, Roberson, and RASHEE Rice, I like a lot. RASHEE Rice is my favorite of the bunch just because he just has that security blanket. He's going to get 6-7 catches. He's not going to get these explosive plays. But all that being said, 41 for 466, so about 10 yards per catch and 7 touchdowns on the season. We potentially have a shootout. Maybe we can finally get over that 100-yard marker. Makes a ton of sense. I think Roberson, while it doesn't give you just as much floor, gives you a little bit more upside. He's a guy in the past has had explosive plays. We can see the 66-yarder versus Navy. So I like him a bit. Let me go to my cheat sheet and make sure I don't forget anybody else. I think that Washington from Penn State in the middle here makes a little bit of sense. Huge game last week, 9 for 108. Again, Maryland's not the greatest defense, so especially if you like Clifford, I would love to get to Dotson, but 7,600 Dotson's just really expensive. So Washington would be a good avenue to save a little bit of money. Scrolling down here, RJ Sneed 5,200, but I kind of want to point out, and his logs are not going to jump off the page, but this is just kind of from playing Sean Dykes, one of the better tight ends in the nation. Struggled the last 2 weeks without his QB, but if he's back, shoot, we're unlocking a ton of upside here in a shootout game. So, I'm going to be very, very interested in Sean Dykes at 4,300, assuming, excuse me, that everybody is in. Down here in the same game, the other tight end, CALCATERRA, certainly in play as well. 2 weeks ago, we had 7 for 90. We're looking at 4,000 here, so we don't have a lot to pay off. And then finally, just one last guy I want to point out down here is from Penn State, is Lambert Smith. Look, you're looking at 12 catches the last 3 weeks, 1 touchdown. It's 3,800, potential good offense, potentially already targeting the quarterback. So getting a cheap wide receiver with him could make sense too. All right, that'll run it down. Give you some of my top picks at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. Hope you all enjoy. If you have other picks or you think I missed somebody or you have any takes, I'd love to see the comments. It only helps me continue, our lineups too. So feel free to start the discussion. I'll do my best to respond. And if you want more content, you want to see our full core sheet of every DraftKings slate. We don't do FanDuel, but every DraftKings slate of the day, plus all of our cash, GPP, and our blue FSI plays, plays that we're honing in on. Feel free to subscribe. We'd love to have you on board, and that'll do it. Thank you all once again for watching. This is Keith, aka Gear Guy 231. See you.